When hearts collide, the city of Chicago was a place where dreams often collided with reality. Its skyline stood tall, proud, and resilient, like the people who lived within it. Beneath the towering skyscrapers, the hum of life never ceased. Streets lined with coffee shops, bookstores, art galleries, and the Lake Michigan breeze that carried the sound of laughter through the parks and piers. For Madison Taylor, Chicago was both a canvas and a challenge. At 23, she was in her final year at the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, working tirelessly to finish her graphic design degree. Creativity ran through her veins, but with looming deadlines, part-time shifts at a cafe, and pressure from her family to have a real plan, life often felt like balancing on a tightrope. Madison's escape came in the form of books. She loved wandering into Anderson's Bookshop, a small independent store tucked into a quiet street. The smell of old paper, the sound of pages turning, and the peaceful corners gave her a place to breathe. One rainy evening, her life would change inside those very walls. It was a Friday in early spring. Chicago's skies were gray, and raindrops slid down the windows like tiny rivers. Madison ducked into Anderson's, shaking off her umbrella. She pulled her hoodie tighter and headed for the fiction section, not noticing the tall figure standing at the same shelf. As she reached for a copy of The Great Gatsby, her hand brushed against someone else's. She looked up, startled. "Sorry," she said quickly. "No, my fault," replied the stranger with an easy smile. He was tall, with dark brown hair damp from the rain, his blue eyes carrying a warmth that caught her off guard. He wore a navy jacket and had the look of someone who belonged in both a classroom and on a basketball court. "I'm Ethan Parker," he said, shifting the book in his hand. "Madison," she replied softly. For a moment, they stood there in the quiet rhythm of rain tapping against the glass. Neither of them knew it yet, but that small moment would set their lives on a path they couldn't have imagined. Over the next few weeks, Madison found herself bumping into Ethan more often than coincidence seemed to allow. Sometimes at the bookstore, other times at the nearby coffee shop, and once even on the train. Ethan was 24, studying architecture at the University of Illinois at Chicago. He was passionate about building things that lasted, both on paper and in real life. His dream was to design community spaces, parks, schools, places where people felt connected. Madison admired that. She found herself drawn to his sincerity, the way he listened when she talked about her art, and how he noticed little things others missed. Their conversations grew longer. They talked about books, their dreams, and the weight of expectations. Madison admitted she sometimes felt like she wasn't good enough, that maybe her art wasn't practical. Ethan told her he understood the pressure. His parents had wanted him to take over their family business, but he had chosen architecture instead. One evening, they sat on the lakeshore, watching the city lights reflect on Lake Michigan. "You know," Ethan said, tossing a pebble into the water, "I think the best things in life happen when we stop trying to plan every detail." Madison smiled faintly. "Easy for you to say." He turned to her, his expression steady. "Not really. But meeting you? That wasn't in my plans. And I'm glad it wasn't." Her heart fluttered, though she said nothing. Of course, life wasn't as simple as two people finding each other. Madison's father wanted her to return to New York after graduation to work for a corporate design firm. He believed stability mattered more than passion. Ethan, meanwhile, was offered a chance to intern with a leading architecture company in Los Angeles, an opportunity too big to ignore. The looming choices cast a shadow over their growing bond. "You can't build your future on daydreams, Maddie," her father's voice echoed in her mind during a phone call one night. "You need something secure." At the same time, Ethan wrestled with guilt. "If I go to LA," he told Madison, "what happens to us?" She looked at him, her heart torn. "I don't know." The tension finally broke one night in late summer. They met again at the lakeshore, the air heavy with unsaid words. "You should take the internship," Madison whispered. "And you should go to New York," Ethan replied, his jaw tight. Silence stretched between them, filled only by the sound of waves. "I don't want to lose you," he said finally. Madison's voice trembled. "But maybe love isn't enough right now." The words left her lips like shards of glass. Ethan reached for her hand, but she pulled away. That night, they walked in opposite directions. Months passed. Madison returned to New York, working at a corporate design firm. She was good at her job, but the spark she once carried dimmed. Her sketches grew lifeless, her nights long. She often found herself staring at the Chicago skyline in old photos, her heart aching. Ethan thrived in Los Angeles, yet success felt hollow. He designed stunning models and received praise, but something was missing. In quiet moments, he would remember Madison's laughter, the way she got lost in books, the light in her eyes when she spoke about art. Despite being hundreds of miles apart, they both carried an emptiness that no achievement could fill. A year later, fate intervened. Anderson's bookshop announced it was closing, unable to survive the pressures of the modern world. The news spread through social media, and both Madison and Ethan, separately, felt the pull to return to Chicago, to the place where it had all begun. On the final day, Madison walked into the shop, her heart aching as she saw the empty shelves. She ran her fingers along the wood, remembering the first time she had touched Ethan's hand here. And then, Madison? Her breath caught. She turned, and there he was, standing in the same aisle where they had first met. His hair was a little shorter, his expression more mature, but his eyes still carried that same warmth. "Ethan," she whispered. For a moment, the world stood still. They sat together in the quiet corner of the nearly empty store. The conversation flowed awkwardly at first, filled with small talk, but slowly their walls crumbled. "I thought I was doing the right thing," Madison admitted. "But I've been miserable." Ethan sighed. "Me too. Success doesn't mean anything without someone to share it with." Her eyes brimmed with tears. "Do you think maybe it's not too late?" He reached across the table, gently taking her hand this time. "Madison, from the moment we met, I felt like my life collided with something I didn't know I needed. I don't care about distance or plans anymore. I just care about us." Her heart swelled. "Then maybe we can start again." Madison decided to leave New York, pursuing freelance design, so she could create with freedom. Ethan chose to return to Chicago too, determined to design spaces that brought people together. Together, they found a small studio apartment near the lake. Life wasn't suddenly easy, but it was real. They supported each other, pushed one another to chase dreams, and filled their days with laughter, books, and late-night walks by the water. One evening, sitting at their window overlooking the city, Madison whispered, "I'm glad we collided." Ethan smiled, wrapping his arm around her.